Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live for more Unified Wrestling Oklahoma action. And as voted on by you, our UWO faithful on Facebook.com/Unified Wrestling Oklahoma, we are going to be seeing a chain match coming up very soon, James.
We've seen chain matches before. Hell, we've seen chain matches between these two before. But the UWO fans said, run it back. Let's have another one. And that's exactly what they're getting here at the Cranberry Clash.
Absolutely. Former UWO heavyweight champion taking on another former UWO heavyweight champion. Derek James will be taking on the fight god, Brawler Morrison.
These two's paths have been intertwined by the blood and by that 8-foot metal chain.
This chain match, both men will be chained together for the entire duration of the contest. It is no disqualification, no holds barred. Pinfalls or submissions will end this matchup. The fight god Brawler Morrison, incredibly privy to what it takes to win a chain matchup, as he has done so before against his opponent here tonight in Derek James. The fight god accompanied by a man who we've also seen earlier on in the night, CM Burnham. This is going to be one to watch out here for James.
Do not envy referee Candace Harding, who's going to have to watch over these two. Both competitors now chained in at the wrist, approximately 8 feet of chain between them.
8 feet of chain met at the wrist between these two. The fight god Brawler Morrison, defiant Derek James are going to be going one-on-one in this one, and it's going to be a slobber knocker, James. I already know it.
These two already trading massive forearms. Now a chop from Brawler Morrison.
Derek James now sizing up. Brawler Morrison, good God.
These two just going back and forth.
These two men, some of the most well-traveled in the UWO locker room. That is why they have been at the top of the food chain here in this company. That is why they have both been UWO champion. In fact, I want to take you back, James. New Year's Eve, you were sitting right there alongside me when Derek James had Tug Davian turn his back on the UWO fans to defeat Brawler Morrison to win the UWO championship for the very first time. Now Derek James no longer with that championship, but this bad blood has carried all the way over to the next year. We are now in November, and these two are still going to war.
The chains around the wrist, very literal and figurative in this case for these two, seemingly chained together for the past years, their fates always intertwining. And now tonight, we get to do battle one last time in this chain match at the Cranberry Clash.
Chop right to the chest, concaving that pectoral muscle of Derek James.
It is the Nokia legal maneuver walker.
I can't say that. I'd have to check the UWO rule books, James. Brawler Morrison and Derek James. The repetitive chops to the chest. Derek James crying out in agony.
Bending that wrist, trying to hyperextend that elbow of Derek James. Now transitioning here into a body slam.
Powering Derek James up. Brawler Morrison showing exactly why he is a former UWO champion. With a score still to settle, Mike Andrews has just slid a chair into the ring. Oh my God! Careening off the skull of Brawler Morrison. And Derek James is trying to drive that chair directly into the skull, into the throat of Brawler Morrison.
Now bringing it across the back, and look at the bend of that chair. Derek James now bending it flat to use once again.
Trying to do everything he can to keep that chair straightened out, to apply the most force, the most impact whenever it careens into the body of Brawler Morrison.
Now wrapping that chain around his fist. Oh, and both men grabbing chairs now.
Oh!
Great minds think alike here.
And Brawler Morrison comes out with an advantage on this one.
Brawler Morrison perhaps just a tad bit tougher, a tad bit more willing to take the punishment than Derek James, and that allowed him to take advantage.
Morrison snapmare now, taking Derek James down. Penalty kick to the back. It won't win you the matchup, James, but it'll wear your opponent down.
Another chair being introduced into this contest by the marvelous Mike Andrews, as these two sit down for a test of toughness.
These chains still wrapped around the wrists of Morrison and James. Shots between these two men. It is a war of attrition, Southern.
Doing battle like the last new Rome here in the center of a UWO ring.
And Brawler Morrison was just sent face first directly into that chair, throwing off his equilibrium completely. He's on Dream Street right now, especially at the hands of the Defiant One.
Very smart move there, using the chair multiple ways against Brawler Morrison. Now,
up to that middle rope, drop kick.
Putting his feet between the chain and Brawler Morrison.
Wait, what did marvelous Mike Andrews just hand Derek James a damn fork? And Derek James is wrenching that fork into the skull of Morrison tonight.
Anything goes in this contest, and they are taking that to the absolute limit as a fork is being introduced into this contest. But what's Burnham got in mind here?
CM Burnham has just grabbed the marvelous one.
Hey, you let Mike Andrews go.
CM Burnham potentially trying to serve up some much delivered, much needed justice here tonight. And CM Burnham is tying Mike Andrews to that chair. Meanwhile, back into the ring, Brawler Morrison is busted wide open and still driving that fork into the cranium of an already bloody mess that is Morrison. Continuously. Derek James trying to choke Brawler Morrison out. And it seems as though, James, this fork that has been introduced by the Marvelous One is now completely changed the tides of this matchup.
The tide changed with a fork carried stealthily by Mike Andrews, now allowing Derek James to take the advantage and use that chain to his advantage, delivering a drop kick to the back of Brawler Morrison.
Derek James now controlled of both legs. Repeated strikes, though, take Derek James out of the equation. Brawler Morrison.
Derek James could be dealing with a ruptured eardrum after some strikes like that.
Meanwhile, Mike Andrews still tied to that chair at ringside. Oh my God, this is just brutal, James.
Derek James using that chain fully to his advantage, now applying the crab on Brawler Morrison.
The captain's hook by Derek James. Brawler Morrison trying to will his way to the ropes, but it won't do anything. The cover has been made. No. Both shoulders were not down, James. I spoke too soon.
These two resorting back to chops, just testing the toughness of the other man.
Good God. Rubbing the chest raw as Brawler Morrison, but rolling elbow, that has put many men away for Derek James, but Brawler Morrison's still on his feet. I cannot believe it. Double underhook from Derek James. Technical stylings from the former teenage technician, but there's nothing technical about that, James.
Beautifully floating over into that pin.
And he has to be asking himself, Derek James has to be asking himself, what do I have to do to put Brawler Morrison away? He's done it. He's done it multiple times in the past, but under, well, different circumstances, if you will. Tuck Davian had accompanied Derek James to ringside or been involved in the endings of all of those contests. Derek James has never had a clean professional victory over Brawler Morrison.
And that's what he's looking to accomplish tonight, and he's got Brawler Morrison reeling here in this contest.
Brawler Morrison is wrapped in that chain. Saito suplex from Derek James, and the chain has just come off.
Suplexing the chain off of him was Derek James. Now these two are freed like caged animals released.
Both of these men clawing for position here. Derek James, the waist lock applied. Standing switch, Brawler Morrison's in control now. Ripcord into the knee strike. The knee is just jacked to the jaw of the Defiant One. Irish whip out of the corner there, Brawler Morrison. Once again, trying to expel all the energy out of the Defiant One here tonight.
Each posting there, knocking a little more air out of Derek James, rearranging the vertebrae in the back. What does Brawler Morrison have in mind here? He's got that chain wrapped around his foot. Now just repeated kicks to the head of Derek James.
Going for the cover off of those kicks, only a 2 count. Brawler Morrison, a bloodied mess. Derek James, a below the belt shot from the nether regions. Sorry, to the nether regions of Brawler Morrison. And a strike with that chain, a knockout blow. This match has to be over, James. That's it. And somehow, Brawler Morrison is still in this one.
Perhaps the toughest man in the UWO locker room. Only someone like Brawler Morrison could kick out after taking an absolute mauling like this from Derek James.
And mauling is a perfect description of what we're seeing tonight. We have seen forks, we have seen steel chains, steel folding chairs. I don't know what's gonna be next, James. Morrison choking the life out of Derek James, but Derek James is driving that fork into the thigh of Morrison. Good God, when is enough enough? And the choke with the chain, and that's it. That's it.
Brawler Morrison finally having to give up the submission with the chain wrapped around his neck, literally strangling the life out of Brawler Morrison. Bravo to Derek James.
Well, at the end of the day, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. Derek James picks up a victory over Brawler Morrison in this chain match, which was voted on by the fans, the UWO family. Thank you so much for being a part of the UWO family tonight at the Cranberry Clash.
These people love to see brutality, and that's why they voted for this chain match. Look at Derek James proudly showing off the chain, showing off the fork, showing off the tools it took to win tonight here at the Cranberry Clash.
Think about what that says about the caliber of competitor he was standing across the ring from. It took a steel chain, a fork, a steel folding chair, all of which barely put Brawler Morrison down. I mean, he did not quit. It was his body that forced him to give up.